The Book of Malachi, when God drops the mic. Welcome to the Book of Malachi, the last book of the Old Testament, where God gives his people one last talking to before a 400-year period of silence. Think of it as God's final mic drop moment before the New Testament kicks off. Malachi might be short, but it's packed with sass, correction, and hope. If you've ever had a heart-to-heart with someone who tells you exactly how it is, but with love, that's Malachi. It's got a "we need to talk about your behavior" vibe, but God still leaves the door open for grace and restoration. Chapter 1. The Great Love Callout. The first chapter of Malachi starts off with a love letter. Kind of. God says, "I have loved you." But the people of Israel respond with a "really? How have you loved us?" So, it's like a teenager rolling their eyes at their parents' reminder of affection. This sets the tone for the whole book. The people of Israel have forgotten all the ways God has shown them love, and now they're wondering why things aren't going their way. God's response is simple. Look at your history. He reminds them of how he chose them over Esau's descendants, the Edomites, and how he's protected and provided for them. It's like God saying, "Do I really need to explain this? Look at everything I've done for you." Chapter 2. Bad priests and broken promises. Next up, God turns his attention to the priests. Oh boy, if the people thought they were in trouble, the priests are about to get an earful. God says, "You've despised my name." And the priests, oblivious, are like, "How? What did we do?" Cue the facepalm emoji. Here's the deal. The priests had been offering lame sacrifices. Literally. Instead of bringing the best animals to the altar, they were offering up blind, sick, and lame animals. Basically, they were cutting corners and offering God their leftovers, not their best. God's like, "Would you offer that to your governor? No? Then why are you offering it to me?" This chapter is all about honoring God. If you're going to worship, don't do it halfway. Give God your best, not what's convenient. God's basically saying, "I'm not some second-tier deity who'll take your scraps." Chapter 3. The tithing talk and more. Chapter 3. Where things get real about tithing. If you've ever been in church and heard a sermon on giving, chances are this chapter was mentioned. God says, "Will a man rob God? Yet you are robbing me." And the people are like, "Wait, how are we robbing you?" God replies, "In tithes and offerings." Here's the gist. The people weren't bringing their full tithes into the storehouse. Instead of trusting God with their resources, they were holding back. And God's like, "Test me in this. See if I won't throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that there won't be enough room to store it." God challenges them and us not to be stingy with what he's given us. It's not about giving to get rich. It's about trusting God with what we have and watching him provide in ways we couldn't imagine. It's the only place in the Bible where God says to test him. But that's not all. Chapter 3 also introduces the messenger of the covenant, who's coming to purify and refine the people, like a refiner's fire. Spoiler alert. This is a foreshadowing of Jesus. Malachi's saying, get ready because God's about to do something huge. Chapter 4. The Day of the Lord, Judgment and Hope. Finally, we arrive at the last chapter, where God talks about the day of the Lord. It's a day of judgment for the wicked, but also a day of healing and restoration for those who honor God. He says, "For you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness will rise with healing in its wings." It's both a warning and a promise. God closes out the Old Testament with a call to remember the law of Moses and the promise of the coming prophet Elijah, who will turn hearts back to God before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. It's like the ultimate cliffhanger, leaving the people waiting for the fulfillment of these promises. So in conclusion, lessons from Malachi. Give God your best, not your leftovers. The Book of Malachi is a wake-up call for God's people to stop going through the motions and start taking their relationship with him seriously. It's not just about following rules, it's about honoring God with your whole heart, whether it's through your offerings, your worship, or your relationships. Malachi reminds us that God deserves our best, not what's convenient. If we're giving God the leftovers of our time, energy, or resources, we're missing out on the blessings He has for us. God's love is steadfast, and He's always calling us back to Him, even when we've strayed. So let's give Him the honor He deserves and trust that He will provide for us in ways we can't even imagine.